A Gathering of Gargoyles by Meredith and Pierce. 11. A Nameless Man. Ariel found herself coming out of her thoughts. How long she had been sitting, lost in contemplation, she did not know. The lamp Aaron had set upon the floor was burning very low. She looked up then and realized it was not the flame that had dimmed, but the room that had grown more light. Dawn lit the highest spires of the villa. By the window, Aaron awoke, and seeing the dawnlight, gave a cry. Ariel stood up. We must flee this place at once while darkness holds. I dare not stay another hour. Aaron was also on her feet. We cannot pass the gate. I tried to once. The guards refused to let me by. Roshka shook himself, arose. There was a door in the wall. I picked the lock of years ago, that I might steal in and out again unseen. If we can make our way... His words were interrupted by a rapping at the door. Aaron jumped. Roshka bit his whisper into silence. Ariel turned. Who knocks? She called. My lord's chamberlain, came the reply. The suzerain requests you to come to him upon the terrace. Do not go, the dark girl hissed. Say you are ill. He would only send his herbalists. Lady, the chamberlain called. Tell your lord, Ariel said, that I will join him shortly. I am only just awake. She listened carefully. Slippered feet beyond the door padded away. Aaron plucked Ariel's sleeve. Quickly, while we have the chance. Roshka was already on the balcony. Come, we can flee west. The high families will take us in. But Ariel hung back. If we go now, she said, we are sure to be taken, for the suzerain will grow impatient and send to see why I have not come. You two go on, and I will follow. No, said Aaron, coming back from the window. I will not be parted from you. I will eat nothing he gives me, said Ariel, kissing her cheek. You knew his game from the moment you saw him, and I should have listened to you from the start. Wait for me by the plum tree. I will come when I can. Then she turned and caught by her walking stick, went from the room too quickly for Aaron to even cry after her. Ariel went out upon the terrace overlooking the garden. He stood at the balustrade, gazing westward toward the dawn. As Ariel approached, he turned, smiling. Forgive me if I woke you, he said, but the dawn over my garden is too beautiful for you to miss a second time. Ariel joined him. You look weary, he ventured. I slept badly, she murmured. Solstar arose slowly, taking an hour to pass from where its rim first edged above the near tall hills until the last of it broke free. The suzerain held up his hand, shielding his eyes from the light. Ariel, he said, all peers. All I hold could be yours. His gaze took in the gardens, his estates beyond. These things I would give you if... Ariel felt weary and distracted. She smiled a little thinly and spoke before she thought. If I were your brother's heir, they would be mine. They are not yours to give. The suzerain's gaze snapped around to stare at her. Roshka, he whispered. You have spoken to Roshka. Ariel's head felt suddenly clearer. She had not meant to say what she had, but now it was done. With an effort, the suzerain regained his calm. My nephew is mad. He can never take the throne. He caught a fever shortly after my brother died, his mother and sister too. It killed them. He alone lived, but he has been mad since, telling everyone I caused their deaths. Ariel did not answer him. The suzerain seemed more composed now, his smile no longer forced. He has deceived you well, I see. Do you doubt me still? Come, I will take you to meet someone, then. I think you will no longer doubt. He held out his hand as if expecting her to take it. Ariel gripped her walking stick. The suzerain shrugged. He turned and started away. Ariel watched him a moment or two, but he did not pause or look behind. She followed. He led her along the wall that bordered his villa grounds. The parapet was only wide enough for one. The suzerain went quickly, not looking back, then reached a tower at the corner of the walls. The suzerain disappeared into the arched doorway. Ariel hung back, then followed again. They ascended a flight of curving steps to the small room at the top of the tower. He unlocked the door and held it wide for her, but Ariel would not enter until he had first gone through. She stood with her back to the wall, just inside the door. The room was small, plain, scarcely furnished. It was empty save for the two of them. Where is this person you would have me meet? The suzerain stood at the narrow window gazing out. He is not here yet, he said, but he will come. Ariel listened, but could hear no footsteps on the stairs. The suzerain turned and went to the grey wooden chest with panels carved in the Eastern style. He knelt, lifting the lid. I loved a woman once that had green eyes. Ariel said, her name was Erica of Isterness. The suzerain started looking up. Ah, Roshka, I forgot. His teeth clenched behind his lips. He would have told you her name. The Lord of Peers reached into the chest, brought out a garment of pale green. The cloth was the same fine stuff they wore in Isterness. He held it, bunched at his breast as he spoke. She was of your height, the suzerain said. Fine-boned, your build. Her skin was mauve, her hair pale yellow, with a green sheen to it. Like Roshka, said Ariel. Like you? Ariel said nothing, taken by surprise. The suzerain nodded. You have been in the desert, but I can see your complexion was mauve once. Your hair had green in it before it grew so fair. Your eyes are green. Upon his knees before the chest, he shook the pale green garment out. Ariel saw it was a robe, such as Lady Silva had worn. If I gave you this gown, said the Lord of Peers, would you wear it for me? Ariel shook her head. She would have drawn away if the wall had not been at her back. That is another woman's garb. The suzerain let the gown fall. Rummaged in the chest, he drew out a little wand of ivory. Ariel had once seen Irileth's brothers in Isterness using such a thing to turn the pages of a book. If I gave you this wand, Ariel, the suzerain said, and taught you to read, would you give up that accursed staff you cling to? Ariel shook her head again. It is my walking stick. The suzerain let the little rod fall. He reached out. Ariel, he whispered, take my hand. Ariel stared at him, said nothing, feared to move. The suzerain rose. I would marry you. He moved toward her, and Ariel edged closer to the door. I love you, he cried. You have known me all of one day month. I admire you. You need an heir. The quietness of her tone stopped him. His eyes grew narrower, his lips harder. Roshka, the suzerain muttered. Is that what he told you, that I need an heir? He will come of age in a year. He says the high families suspect you. The suzerain shook his head. You mistake me. Not even Roshka knows all. It is not an heir I need. I can deal with the high families. It is a wife I must wed, Ariel. I must wed. Ariel gazed at him steadily. I will wed you, she answered him at last, when you have told me your name. The suzerain began to laugh. The sound was hard and desperate. He wiped his eyes. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Even that, he said. Has my nephew guessed that too? Well, I will tell you all, and perhaps in the end you will pity me. Ariel stood ready to run if she must. She wanted only to be gone from him. When Erica of Esterness first came to Piers, he said, my brother and I both courted her, but she chose him in the end. She bore him children, and I was sick with jealousy. Then the blackbird came and told me I might have my heart's desire for only a little payment, a small nothing. It served a white lady, it said, who wished me well. But I did not like the look of it. Twice I sent it off, but always it returned, and in between I dreamed of Erica. Its mistress whispered in my dreams. At last I went to it and told it, yes, take anything, only give me my heart's desire. Then it told me, lie down, and I did so. It said, turn your face to one side, and I did. Then I felt its claws standing upon my throat, and the other upon my cheek. Cold, cold as night. It drove its beak into my temple. I felt it burning, and another sensation as if something thin and thready was spinning away from me. Then nothing for a while. When I awoke, the bird was sitting on the window again, watching me. What have you done? I said. My temple bled into my hand, and my ears rang faintly. I have taken my lady's payment, the blackbird croaked. A little thing, only a name. You never use it yourself. No one will ever use it again, save my lady, to call you in your dreams. Now you shall have your heart's desire, but do not go riding with your brother on the morn. Then it flew, and I went down. The blood had stopped, but I felt very ill. I did not ride with my brother that day, and that was the day his horse threw him. My heart's desire, the suzerain laughed. she would not wed me, Erica. I thought the witch meant Erica, my heart's desire, but she meant Piers. My love killed herself, and I got Piers instead. I did not want it, nor my brother dead. I only wanted Erica. Then why are you still suzerain in Piers? Spat Ariel. The Lorelei of the Mere is a marvelous reader of hearts. Perhaps she read yours better than you knew. The suzerain stared at her. I did not need to sell my name to some sorceress to be told if my brother died I should get his lands. He turned away, pacing vehemently. In a moment his voice grew quieter again. For years after, I could not bear the sight of women. I sent them from me, or they fled. But then I began to see I must have a wife to break the witch's hold on me. Any woman would do. It did not matter who. But by then, there was not a woman in all Piers to be found. Oh, there were women, somewhere, underground. I sent my horsemen out hunting them, but the stag thwarted my huntsmen at every turn, and the women killed themselves rather than be taken. They all heard of me. By then, a nameless man. So the lady sent me her serf, her winged son, to help me. She told me she sympathized, would be delighted to fulfill the terms of our agreement. I must have a wife, oh yes. Her serf captured Persalon and carried him away, but since then he has been no help. I am less his master than his slave. He makes me send him young boys to feed on. I want a wife, the suzerain cried. I must have a wife, for the curse holds only until my wedding day. His skin was drawn, his eyes upon her desperate. His tone grew soft, almost entreating. The witch promised to free me on my wedding day. Ariel let out her breath. All she felt now was dismay. And you believed her. The Lorelei is a maker of empty promises. She heard hunting horns sounding faintly in the woods beyond the wall. The eyes of the man across from her grew fierce. I will give her the green meat, then, he replied. Her serf has been hunting it by night, and I by day, since I learned of its coming. She wants it for some reason. I will give it to her instead of you. He stopped himself abruptly, as though he had bitten his tongue. Ariel looked at him. Did you mean to sell me to the White Witch, then, when I first came here? She asked him. In trade for your name, but her words were cut by a flapping of wings. She and the suzerain turned. A black bird had alighted on the sill. It stood as tall as Ariel's forearm, its wings dark as nothing in the white sunlight. So, the black bird said, bobbing. So this is she, the one my lady sent word of. It is she, the suzerain said. His face had gone ashen beneath the coppery cast of his skin. The black bird clucked, eyeing Ariel. Alive! Why? Its eye was so black she could only find it by its gleam among the sheenless feathers. Tell your lady, the suzerain began. Our lady, the bird clucked, looking at him. Our lady, the suzerain snapped, that I have the one she told me to look for, but she is mine now to do with as I choose. She will stay with me under my protection. She will not leave this villa or trouble your mistress. Our mistress. She will trouble her no more, the suzerain shouted. He drew a deep breath, regaining himself. But she is mine! The black ruck coughed, rumpled, hopped down from the windowsill and into the room. It was darker than its own shadow. The suzerain fell back. That is not what Our Lady required of you, the bird said, if you should come upon the one she sought. It reached the robe of pale green silk, hopped onto it, picking at it, toyed with the rod of ivory. The suzerain stared at it. Are you a messenger or the lady herself? He whispered. Do you presume to speak for her? Go, take my message to our mistress and be done with you. And we will pause there.